picture this. You are in a massive, sold-out stadium.
Oh, the energy in those places is just electric.
Totally. The lights are pulsing, the crowd is absolutely roaring, but you are completely focused on a single screen.
And so are, what, millions of other people?
Yeah, 6.4 million other people watching live around the world.
Wow.
We are talking about the League of Legends World Championship in 2023. And you are hanging on to every single word of a fast-talking commentator who is breaking down this incredibly chaotic digital battle right in front of you.
It's thrilling.
It really is. But when you step back from that adrenaline rush, it kind of makes you wonder, how exactly do you mathematically, scientifically control the emotions of millions of people with just your voice?
It is a massive undertaking. And to figure out how they actually do it, we are going straight to the architectural blueprints of the profession today.
Right.
Our source material is a comprehensive, highly structured course book called Introduction to Shoutcasting, version 2.0.
Which is fresh off the presses.
Exactly. This covers the 2025 to 2026 curriculum developed by Sporte Academy. It's essentially an intensive 4 to 6 week syllabus designed to take 16 to 25-year-olds and basically forge them into professional esports commentators.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to extract the art, the hard science, and the intense psychology of broadcasting straight from this curriculum.
Because there's a lot of it.
Oh, definitely. We are going to figure out how these professionals manufacture hype, decode incredibly complex strategies on the fly, and somehow keep audiences hooked for 8 to 12 hours straight.
And even if you, the listener, never plan to cast a single gaming tournament in your life, you really should stick around for this.
Absolutely.
Because what we are really deconstructing here is a masterclass in high-stakes communication. We're talking about real-time analysis, narrative building, vocal energy management.
Yeah, these are frameworks you can take straight into a boardroom presentation, a massive sales pitch, or really any scenario where you need to command a room. So we all know what a caster does on a basic level, right? But where the term shoutcasting actually comes from is a wild piece of internet history.
Oh, it's so funny.
Right. It doesn't originate from the act of just yelling into a microphone. The word actually comes from a 1998 internet radio software plugin called Shoutcast.
Yeah, developed by Nullasoft.
Exactly. And for anyone who remembers the late 90s, that is the exact same company that made the Winamp media player.
It is the ultimate grassroots origin story. Back then, dedicated fans would use this Shoutcast plugin to broadcast their own audio commentary over Quake and StarCraft matches.
Because they couldn't stream the video.
Right, they didn't have the bandwidth for integrated video streams. So if you were listening at home, you had to manually synchronize the audio file you were streaming with the gameplay video you had pulled up on your own monitor.
I mean, I can't even imagine the logistics of that.
Yeah.
Getting on an early message board and saying, okay, everyone, hit play on the demo file right now.
The latency issues alone must have been a total nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. But from those clunky DIY origins, the growth curve has been just staggering.
It really has. You map that trajectory and it goes from those manual syncs in the 90s straight into what is widely known as the Korean Revolution in the 2000s.
Right. With StarCraft.
Yeah, South Korea had dedicated television networks like OGN, broadcasting StarCraft, Brood War Daily. They turned casters into genuine suit-wearing celebrities.
They made it legit.
Completely.
Yeah.
That era proved this was a highly prestigious profession, and it really codified that theatrical, high-energy style that permeates the global scene today.
Right. And that laid the groundwork for the 2010s and 2020s.
Yeah.
Where games like League of Legends and Counter-Strike completely mainstreamed the broadcast product.
Huge production.
Yeah, you have publishers investing tens of millions into multi-language production teams. And that brings us to the curriculum highlights for 2025.
Which is massive.
A global esports audience pushing past 640 million viewers, and monolith events like the Esports World Cup boasting a $70 million prize pool.
$70 million. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the stakes are astronomical. A prize pool that big means the pressure on the broadcast talent to perfectly capture the moment is immense.
For sure.
The syllabus actually identifies 5 foundational pillars for why this role is the linchpin of the entire $4.8 billion industry.
Okay, let's hear them.
First is accessibility. You have games with hundreds of characters, thousands of item combinations, split-second mechanics. The caster acts as a real-time decryption engine for the viewer.
Makes total sense.
Second is excitement. They act as an emotional multiplier for the visual action. Third is storytelling. They inject narrative stakes so you actually care about the avatars on screen.
I think that storytelling pillar is crucial.
Oh,
Otherwise, you're just watching highly optimized spreadsheets execute commands.
precisely. It would be incredibly dry. Fourth is education. They constantly level up the audience's strategic understanding.
Right.
And finally, entertainment. We mentioned those 8 to 12-hour broadcast days. Think about the viewer fatigue.
Oh, yeah, you'd zone out.
Without an incredibly dynamic vocal engine driving the show, viewer retention would crater after match 2.
But I always get hung up on the execution. Like, we all know the standard play-by-play in color duo format. But in a 10-player fight where 20 ultimate abilities are going off simultaneously, how does a human brain even process what to say first?
It seems impossible.
Is there a system for that, or are they just winging it, relying on fast twitch reflexes?
They're absolutely not winging it. The curriculum breaks the play-by-play role, the hypecaster, down into a highly rigid cognitive framework to filter out that exact chaos.
Okay.
It's a 3-part formula: WHO, what, and impact.
Walk me through that. Because if I'm looking at a screen full of explosions, I feel like my brain would just output complete word salad.
A lot of people's would. The first filter is the WHO. You must identify the primary actor. Let's say Faker.
Okay, Faker.
Then immediately the what is the defining mechanical action, flashes forward and lands the shockwave on 3 members.
Got it.
Finally, you must contextualize the impactee, and that engage could end this series right here.
Whoa, wow.
When you stitch it together at 200 words a minute, it flows as Faker flashes forward and lands the shockwave, and that could end this series. You name the actor, describe the visual, and state the consequence.
And I imagine the hardest part of that formula isn't what you say, but what you choose to ignore.
Exactly.
The course emphasizes prioritization as the golden rule. You cannot call every single healing spell or minor movement in a massive fight.
You can.
If you try to catch every detail, it just becomes a wall of noise. You have to instantly diagnose which specific movements are the win conditions for the fight and isolate those for the audience.
Which perfectly sets up the second half of the broadcast dynamic. Once the play-by-play caster finishes that high-speed sprint, the team fight ends and the audience is catching their breath.
Right, there's a little lull.
That leaves a massive audio vacuum. How does the broadcast not just instantly deflate? That is where the color commentator steps in. If play-by-play is the what, color is the why.
And they have their own structural engine, right? Because they can't just say, wow, cool play. They have to dissect the mathematics of it while the replay is rolling.
Exactly. The syllabus breaks color commentary into a precise 4-step loop. First, observation. Second, explanation. Third, implication. Fourth, comparison.
Give me a hypothetical on how that actually sounds in practice. Because applying 4 analytical steps in 20 seconds sounds daunting.
Let's invent a cross-map rotation scenario. Step 1, observation. You identify the macro movement. Notice how they are deliberately conceding the dragon objective to push the top lane.
Okay, simple enough.
Step 2, explanation. You reveal the strategic logic behind the trade. They're doing this because their team composition hits its mathematical power spike right now, and taking this top tower cracks open the entire enemy jungle.
Okay, so you've established what and why.
Then step 3, implication. You project the future state of the game. Because that jungle is open, the enemy team will be completely starved for vision for the next 5 minutes. And finally, step 4, comparison. You anchor this complex idea to a historical precedent the audience already understands. This is the exact same chokeout strategy we saw them execute perfectly against Cloud9 last season.
That is brilliant.
Observation, explanation, implication, comparison. It transforms a seemingly boring objective trade into a masterstroke of strategy.
The mechanics of those individual roles are fascinating, but the interaction between them is where the actual magic happens.
Oh, absolutely.
The curriculum compares a great casting duo to peanut butter and jelly. You need the textural contrast. And the core mechanic of that collaboration is the handoff. You can't just step on each other's sentences.
The handoff is an incredibly subtle art. You aren't explicitly saying over to you.
Right.
You are using natural pauses, subtle intakes of breath, dropping your partner's name, or deliberately downshifting your vocal tone to signal you are creating space.
It's like a dance.
It really is. You see this mastered by legendary duos like Tasteless and Artosis, or Captain Flowers and Kobe. The driving philosophy drilled into these students is make your partner look good and they will do the same for you.
It's high-speed collaborative problem solving. But to execute the hype, the analysis, and those seamless handoffs, your primary instrument has to be flawless.
And that instrument is the human voice.
Exactly. The course goes incredibly deep into the physical mechanics. pitch, pace, volume, and tone. And they assign some brutal practical exercises.
They really treat the vocal cords exactly like a professional athlete treats a hamstring.
They really push the physical conditioning. They have students doing intense lip trills and humming scales to warm up the vocal folds.
Yeah.
They drill tongue twisters to ensure perfect articulation when the adrenaline hits and the pace quickens. Things like red leather, yellow leather, or unique New York. Try saying that perfectly while your heart rate is spiking at 120 beats per minute.
Not easy.
And they have a draconian rule about vocal health before a show. You stay hydrated, but only with room temperature water.
And absolutely no dairy.
Which blew my mind. I always assumed a hot tea with honey and milk was the gold standard for soothing your throat before a long speaking engagement.
It's a really common misconception. The curriculum specifically warns that dairy increases mucus production in the throat.
Gross, but good to know.
Yeah, when you are trying to perfectly articulate crisp consonants at high speeds, that slight film ruins your vocal clarity. You lose the sharp edges of your words.
What's equally fascinating is how they teach these students to map out their vocal stamina over an 8-hour day. They don't just go out there and yell. They use a highly calculated 1 to 10 energy scale.
What's fascinating here is how directly this scale maps to everyday professional life. In the syllabus, levels 1 through 3 are calm, conversational tones used for the analytical breakdowns and the early game setups.
Makes sense.
Levels 4 through 6 are engaged, your standard, driving momentum for map rotations. Levels 7 and 8 are excited, reserved for the major skirmishes.
And then 9 and 10.
Absolute peak hype. And they are fiercely protected. You only deploy at 10 for a game-winning, once-in-a-career moment.
The roller coaster analogy they use perfectly captures why this is so difficult. A massive pitfall for rookies is walking out onto the broadcast already keyed up at a level 8.
It happens all the time.
If you are screaming when the players are just walking onto the stage, you have absolutely nowhere to go when someone pulls off a miraculous play. Your energy hits a ceiling and sounds totally flat.
Think about a standard boardroom presentation. Most people walk into that room rigid, operating at a nervous level 5, and they stay at a monotonous level 5 for 20 straight minutes.
Right, and everyone falls asleep.
Exactly. If you applied this esports curriculum to that meeting, you would deliberately start at a level 3 to draw the room in, spike to a confident level 6 when presenting your core data, and then manipulate the pacing to maintain attention. It's about tension and release.
To build that tension, the book actually teaches casters to slow their pace and drop their volume to a near whisper as the teams are posturing for a fight.
Yeah.
You build that anticipation so that when the engage finally happens, the explosion of volume feels earned. The contrast is what creates the thrill.
And paradoxically, one of the most advanced techniques in this entire syllabus for managing that emotional climax is the deliberate use of silence.
Really?
It is highly counterintuitive when your job description is literally to talk. But after a stunning historic play, sometimes the best call is completely cutting the mic.
Just letting it ride.
Letting the ambient roar of the arena's crowd bleed through the broadcast, giving the audience 3 or 4 seconds of pure, unadulterated atmosphere to process what just happened.
It takes so much restraint. Your adrenaline is spiking, your instinct is to explain everything, but you just have to sit back and let the moment breathe.
Exactly.
But of course, you can't just rely on incredible voice control and dramatic pauses. You need a narrative framework. If I'm watching a match between two teams I've never heard of, how do they trick my brain into caring who wins?
Well, they don't trick you. They build a psychological bridge using 4 core narrative engines.
Okay.
First is rivalry leaning into historic, deeply personal grudges between specific players or regions. Second is redemption framing a match around a player who was benched last year and is fighting to prove the critics wrong.
Everyone loves a comeback story.
Third is the underdog, the universal appeal of the David versus Goliath setup. And fourth is legacy framing the match around debates over the greatest of all time or a reigning champion trying to cement a multi-year dynasty.
The ultimate balancing act is weaving those narratives so a brand new viewer instantly understands the emotional stakes, while a veteran viewer still learns something highly technical about the game.
It's a tough balance.
And to fuel those narratives requires a staggering amount of backstage prep. We all know you have to play the meta, but the sheer volume of research these casters do to track those mathematical shifts, patch by patch, is insane.
It is essentially a full-time data analytics job before the camera ever turns on. You are building massive, color-coded cheat sheets. You are scouring databases like Wikipedia to memorize historical win rates.
Wow.
You are writing out strict phonetic pronunciations for dozens of international players because mispronouncing a rookie's name on a global broadcast completely shatters your authority.
Here's where it gets really interesting, especially for anyone looking to build a communication setup at home. Even with perfect prep and a beautifully calibrated voice, it all disintegrates if the audience is wincing at your audio quality.
Oh, yeah.
The technical hardware advice in this syllabus is incredibly specific. They strongly direct beginners away from those expensive, flashy condenser microphones you see everywhere and tell them to buy a dynamic microphone.
Specifically calling out affordable models like the $50 to $100 Samson Q2U.
Right.
And the acoustic logic there is bulletproof for their target demographic. Condenser microphones are highly sensitive. They capture an incredible amount of vocal detail, but they also capture the air conditioning vent, the dog barking 3 houses down, and the whir of your computer fans.
Nobody wants to hear your fans spinning up.
Right. If you are recording in an untreated bedroom with hardwood floors, a condenser mic is a nightmare. Dynamic microphones have excellent off-axis rejection. They only pick up what is directly in front of the capsule.
The curriculum also insists on layering software audio filters in programs like OBS. You need a noise gate, which digitally mutes your microphone the second you stop speaking.
Ensuring dead silence during those dramatic pauses we talked about.
Exactly. And you absolutely need a compressor, which squashes the audio peak so you don't physically blow out the listener's eardrums when you suddenly spike to a level 10 hype moment.
Very important.
They hammer home an absolute golden rule for modern media. Good audio is exponentially greater than good video.
People will happily watch a grainy 720p webcam feed for hours if the commentary is crisp and dynamic.
Totally.
But if your audio has a slight echo or clips when you get loud, the viewer retention drops to 0 within seconds. And viewer retention is everything if you want to turn this from a hobby into a livelihood.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The course charts a very sobering financial roadmap for these students. It is a massive grind.
It is.
Stage 1 is purely volunteering at small community tournaments just to get reps in. Stage 2 is the semi-pro tier, where you might scrape together $10 to $25 an hour.
If you're lucky.
Stage 3 is professional, which nets $20,000 to $60,000 a year. And Stage 4 is the elite top tier, pulling in $60,000 to well over $100,000 a year, or commanding up to $700 a day as a top freelancer.
But the only way to unlock those higher tiers is through a flawless demo reel. You have to distill hundreds of hours of work into a tightly edited 2 to 3 minute highlight video.
The pressure on that reel is insane.
And the syllabus warns them, tournament organizers watch hundreds of these submissions. If you do not put your absolute best peak hype moment in the first 10 seconds, they will close the video and move on to the next applicant.
It's an incredibly cutthroat funnel.
Yeah.
But it really underscores the immense depth behind what, to the uninitiated, just sounds like enthusiastic people yelling about video games.
There's so much more to it.
We've decoded the WHO What Impact formula for managing chaos, the 4-step loop for real-time analysis, the strict 1 to 10 vocal energy scale, and the relentless data prep required to even sit at the desk.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means the mechanics of a professional shoutcaster are deeply practically transferable to your own life. Next time you have to explain a complex project to a client, try structuring it using the observation, explanation, implication, and comparison framework to keep them anchored.
I love that.
When you're leading a long meeting, map your vocal energy on that 1 to 10 scale so you aren't exhausting the room. And when you are collaborating, master the subtle art of the handoff. These are universal blueprints for capturing human attention and conveying complex information with total clarity.
It's a phenomenal toolkit for anyone who needs to speak with authority.
It truly is. But before we close out this deep dive, there is one final, highly provocative detail hidden deep within the formatting of this source material that we have to discuss.
Okay, what is it?
Throughout the Sport Academy coursebook, hidden in the margins, are developer tags that look like this. Bracket, AI_content_marker, end bracket.
Wait, really?
Yes. The document explicitly notes that the text is structured for AI-assisted content creation and video narration.
Wow. That changes the context of everything we just talked about.
It raises a profound question to leave with. If the educational backbone of human broadcasting, the very cognitive frameworks that teach us how to manufacture hype, build emotional tension, and weave compelling narratives, is now perfectly tagged and structured for algorithmic ingestion.
Yeah.
How long will it be before the captivating, deeply human voices we listen to during these chaotic digital battles are entirely synthesized by the machines themselves?
That is a staggering thought to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your energy calibrated, and we'll catch you next time.